Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show focuses on sharing good news and powering the good in our community. Now here's your host, City Current CEO, Jeremy Park.
Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And we always love having guest speakers come on the show talking about their new book. And that's why we're excited to have best-selling author, keynote speaker, so much more, our good friend, Dr. Joseph Michelli. His new book is All Business is Personal, One Medical's Human-Centered, Technology-Powered Approach to Customer Engagement. We'll talk all about the book, but Joseph, how are you doing, buddy?
I got to change my brand of coffee. I am doing fine, but I need whatever you are ingesting. You have such delightful energy. I'm good. Thanks for asking.
Hey, well, it's always good to see a friend. And when you talk about a new book, that's exciting. And when you talk about technology, customer service, all these things that you talk about in the book, how can you not be excited? Let's start, though, with a little bit of your backstory, because we've had you speak, and amazing speaker. The books, though, really are really cool because you focus on what businesses do well. And so talk a little bit about your background as a best-selling author and your lens of viewing customer service through the eyes of businesses.
Yeah, well, I'm a consultant first. So I go into organizations, I try to help them deliver greater experiences for their team members and their customers. That's my thing, right? And from that, some of my clients turn into books just because of the successes they've had, or because I think there's a lesson for lots of people in that industry or beyond. And the current book is a real classic example of that. I've worked with the CEO of the company when he was the chief operating officer at UCLA. He had a little run through Stanford Medical and on to other locations before he came to the brand. And then I consulted with him in this brand and then wrote about it.
How long, when you talk about the consulting and then the light bulb going off saying this would be a book, what is that typical turnaround on your end?
Well, this was a little different because COVID intervened in the middle, so we had a kind of a disruption. But normally, I'm involved with a brand a couple of years working for them. The writing is happening in my mind, at least while I'm working for them. But it's another 6 months to 9 months of writing, and then about 6 months to get a book out into the market from there.
For those who can see you on screen, you have some of your bestsellers behind you. Give us a little bit of a highlight for some of your other bestsellers.
Yeah, I've been blessed to work with companies like Starbucks, Ritz-Carlton, Zappos, Mercedes-Benz, Airbnb. I think I interviewed you for one of my books about managing the difficulties of adversity and stronger through adversity. So those are just some of the brands that I've been fortunate to work with through the years.
Yeah, and I think, once again, very cool because you have a chance to see it firsthand, experience it, make some, really cool adjustments to a part of that as the consultant, and then share those and that expertise and that knowledge and that journey, as a part of a best-selling book that all of us can then share with our teams. And so let's go ahead and dive in. All Business is Personal, One Medical's Human-Centered, Technology-Powered Approach to Customer Engagement. So talk about what made you think this was a great book to write.
All right, so there's a guy by the name of Tom Lee, who was a Harvard-trained physician. He went to Stanford Business School. Got to worry about his intellect, right, between those two. But then he just kept asking this question over and over again: Why? Why does healthcare have all these glitches? And questions like, why do you have to sit in a waiting room and an exam room? And, why do you have to weigh in every time if weight is not a relevant variable for you and creates this pain point? Why do you have to schedule an appointment via the phone instead of being able to use technology? And this is kind of in the day of the BlackBerry. He just finished his Stanford degree then, and there wasn't a real internet smartphone world that we know today. But he was starting to develop the technologies that would be apps on the devices and really developed a technology that enabled people to make same day, next day appointments from their phone, not have to interface with a human being at the time, and then be able to come in and have a very different experience where 97% of the time they were greeted in the waiting room within 3 minutes of their scheduled appointment time, taken back by the provider who was not wearing stuffy clothes, and the waiting room wasn't that classic sort of overly sterile doctor's office look that we've come to know. It was really very affordable, luxury, accommodating. All of that, all those changes created this environment where Gilmore and Pine would say people are willing to pay admission just to have the experience. And quite literally, he charged $49 at the time and said, if you can send in a check, because there wasn't e-commerce, send in a check, that's great. If they didn't, he still kept them as members. but this membership just got you access. It really didn't pay for your care. That was still subject to your insurance, but it changed the industry for the better. And it really started movement that we saw really facilitated during COVID when it came to virtual care, for example. And the ultimate reality is it attracted the attention of Amazon, who bought them for $4 billion in 2023. So for me, it is that insatiable quest to say, why are we accepting what has always been when we could craft an optimized experience if we allowed ourselves to get outside of the constraints of history?
And also tied into technology. I mean, you hear artificial intelligence, AI is like the buzzword everywhere. And so it's how do you use technology to enhance the customer experience, to drive efficiencies? So talk about it kind of from that vantage point of technology permeating, everything tied to that customer experience, which is obviously a big part of the book.
And Jeremy, I love that question because it implies the ecosystem, right? You have to be able to leverage this technology, both for the good of the people inside your organization and the people those folks serve. So if you think about healthcare, we're facing an incredible shortage of primary care providers in the next decade. People are leaving the profession because of burnout, because they spend time in their pajamas instead of with their kids, treating a medical record. So the goal was to figure out, how do we make it easier for the provider? How do we make it easier for the consumer, member, or patient, depending upon how you want to describe it in one medical model. And ultimately, what you started to see was using AI with permission to be able to capture the interaction so that your provider isn't having to, type into the electronic medical record or write notes. They're looking at you and engaging you fully. The AI is capturing the notes. Afterwards, there's obviously a quality check on making sure the information was accurately captured. But using those types of tools that decrease the amount of time that a provider is going to have to just capture the notes or catch up on their delinquent files. And then going all the way from there to making sure that you're getting a nudge when it's time for a colonoscopy. You're getting a task in your app that tells you about that. And even better yet, they might send you a variation of Cologuard, if you will, right to you and say, sorry, it's your 50th birthday. It's time, whether you like it or not. Here, please do this. We've sent it to you. Those kinds of behaviors, I think, are proactive. They leverage technology, but they also ensure that we have time for humans to serve us in a very personal space.
Talk about the structure of the book. So for the reader, what does the reader expect?
Yeah, I think other than having to tell you a little bit about who is this upstart brand that got that kind of thing accomplished in a short time as a med tech, it really faces the human question that we're all kind of addressing now. When do we engage humanity and when do we engage technology? And for a lot of business owners today, I think this struggle is massive, right? On the one hand, we want to make sure people have self-serve, which is important for convenience and ease. On the other hand, we need to have people available when technologies don't work or because technologies can commoditize us into a transactional brand, and we need to have something that warms it up and creates a soulful connection and that personal emotional connection that's going to drive loyalty, not just transactional convenience that says, hey, give me a coupon, I'll go somewhere else because I've got the same technology and the same chatbot.
And I think that's a good point is it's internal and external. It's efficiencies, for your team and leveraging technology, but it's also external, obviously, for customers and those you serve, and obviously patients as well in this healthcare space. Give us maybe, one, either a takeaway, a teaser on both sides. So when you talk about how do you leverage it for a better experience with your team internally, give us one takeaway, and then let's look externally as well.
Sure. So let me start with the fact that the teams themselves are the ones who are the customers for the technologists, right? So in many cases, what you'll see is a provider will say, in order for me to do this billing or to make this transfer to another provider, I've got 6 clicks that I need to do within our various platforms. And so the UX designer is really looking at this person's workflow and determining where can I take some of the pressure off of this to effectuate what their goal is in the transaction. So there's all of that internally focused user experience design. I still think it's human-centric design, though we use the word user, we use the word patient, we use the word employee, they're just people. But that's the focus, right? And then from there, then you start looking at how do we make this easier on behalf of patients through the use of the technology that they may have, or how do we design elements into the experience that will enrich their time with us, whether that's queries about certain things that they need to be thinking about in their health journey, more interest in the whole person care, the family, the system, the culture, the values. All those things can have a discussion if you're not just simply trying to get through a 10-minute visit, most of which is administrative.
Carry that into, for you, what's something that was an aha moment or something that as you're going through this process, and obviously, on the consulting side, you're seeing this play out firsthand, but, as you're writing the book and distilling this, what was maybe one aha moment for you or a light bulb moment that kind of went off on your end?
Well, I started in healthcare. So my coming right out of graduate school with a PhD in clinical psychology and organizational development, I was working in healthcare systems. And I think in those days, we thought consistency was driven largely by the way we prescribed people talking. So we'd literally have these scripts that we would have in healthcare or what to say at certain moments. What I really found most exciting about all of this is the technology can provide you all of the information that's most salient and relevant to know. It can feed that to a human being, and then you let the human being nuance how they communicate that to the person in front of them. And the way I might share it with one individual might be very different than I share it with another individual. What needs to be shared should be comprehensively covered, and the technology can put that in real time, just in time for me. It's just my job then to figure out how do I make sure you know what that is. And I'll add one little quick other, and that's just that sometimes I just need to triage what I need to do in healthcare. Somebody needs to help me navigate it. So on the app, if I'm traveling and I land and I've got a sore throat, and then I'm just going to go onto my app and I'm going to give my symptoms. It's going to ask me more and more questions. It's going to triage me like Dr. Google, but curated knowledge down a pathway that says you better go to the emergency room. You better push your button right now on this app and get treated now. Or here's some, over-the-counter things you might want to consider taking and see how they proceed and then take the next step. So I love the use. For me, the aha is just that technology is an empowering tool when positioned well, but it shouldn't strip us of our humanity, and we shouldn't be constrained to do it the way that technology prescribes.
And I think that leads me to the next question, which is for the reader, especially for business leaders, because just like you're talking about, there's a very broad application. What are the things that you want them to take away from this book?
I fundamentally want to take away that we're not going to do away with humanity, and you'd be silly not to embrace technology at the AI level right now. You have to put some safeguards on the ethics of it, the biases, the hallucinations that still happen within the context of AI. But you really should be embracing it fully and leveraging it to its full force. But I think we get to that point where we have only chatbots and no 800 numbers on websites today. And I fear that if we keep going in that direction, then brands are going to lose their soul, because the soul of the brand is my ability. The soul of the brand is you, Jeremy. I mean, I've known you for a long time. Your warmth, your engaging, your commitment to community, that just doesn't come out in any technology. When I tell you I am grateful to be here, I am grateful to be here. And no amount of AI, no scripted terminology from AI will convince you that the AI wants to be on your show.
You never write these books in a vacuum. You're taking all of the experiences before and you're, crafting it in this moment, obviously based on, the consulting that's taking place. And so were there things that as you were looking back and obviously in the moment, but pulling from other experiences with other businesses and saying, wow, this is kind of similar to what another one did, and this kind of builds on this, that maybe you weren't able to put it in the book, but as you're looking at all the institutional experiences and knowledge and things, tied into this moment, realizing that a lot of the things that they were doing well or are doing well are also best practices for other businesses. So in other words, were there things that as you're looking in this moment that really did carry forward from other experiences and other businesses and other books?
The carry forward, absolutely. And sometimes it's the opposite of what you suggested, Jeremy. Instead of saying, boy, this is going to be terrific because it really follows in this pattern of, sometimes I look back at the things that we thought were terrific that now are a little bit questionable. I'll give you an example. Back in the days when working with Starbucks, and we went to mobile pay and using our phones in this really lame 2D technology. We didn't have near field. We weren't doing anything really all that cool. It was just a simple, scannable barcode on your phone. And people were using it. We're thinking, man, this is speeding up the end phase of the journey. It's taking away all the pain points of not making the right change and slowing up the transaction. This is fabulous stuff. And the same went on when we started to think about mobile ordering and being able to do our order from a distance. All these things were great. And I kept thinking, this is going to be perfect. We're not going to have to worry about it because when they come in the store, they're still going to have that heartwarming experience. Lo and behold, the technology drove such volume that you have a challenge now of, do you have a personal experience in your Starbucks, or has it become largely just order on the mobile, go in and grab your drink and walk out? And if so, people can emulate that technology, even if you were the leader in it in terms of mobile pay. They can replicate that technology and your advantage starts to really winnow away. So I look at this as a cautionary tale. A lot of the things that are put in motion, technology, AI, all of it has the same potential to cause us all to feel like we're just transactions without a caring force inside of the business.
That's the whole point, right? Business is personal. And so All Business is Personal is the book. Once again, One Medical's human-centered, technology-powered approach to customer engagement. Wrap up with the book, where we can get it. Talk about the details of the book.
I always like to think that you can get this book wherever good books are sold, right? Obviously, Amazon has it, since it is Amazon One Medical, as does Barnes & Noble and Porchlight and all the other online bookstores. Go into Barnes & Noble if you have one, or your local bookstore should be carrying it as well. If not, you just ask for All Business and Personal. I'm sure they'll get it to you.
Wrap up too with your website, information on you as a speaker, consultant, author. So where do we go to follow you? Website, social media as well.
Well, since my name will probably be posted somewhere on this, that's all you need. Joseph Michelli will get you my website, josephmichelli.com. That's my name on LinkedIn, and I'm mercilessly everywhere on the internet. It's Joseph Michelli.
Well, once again, a wealth of knowledge. Greatly appreciate all you do to power the good, my friend. Dr. Joseph Michelli, best-selling author, keynote speaker, consultant, and so much more. Love and appreciate you. Thank you for coming on the show.
The feeling's mutual, Jeremy. Thank you.
Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services is proud to power the City Current Show. We're a people-first company that protects what matters most, the families, businesses, and trailblazers that keep our community going. As one of the nation's top independent insurance firms, Higginbotham is a single-source solution for business insurance, employee benefits, HR services, and personal insurance that's customized for you. We're here to serve you, the people you care about, and your community. Call 866-377-1959 or visit higginbotham.com.